Right, chaps, we are back for another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. We've got plenty to go through in today's video. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like, and as always, if we do miss anything off, get it in the comments down below, and we'll discuss it next time. But without any further ado, let's just jump in. So the only place to start out is with Hull City, who have been placed under a transfer embargo by the EFL until January 2027. Not the only Championship club under an embargo right now. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday and their situation has been well discussed on the channel, but Hull City, the latest club to be slapped by one. Now, it is worth stressing that Hull have said that they will be appealing this and they are confident of getting the decision overturned. The embargo is because the EFL are concerned by Hull City's finances and their stability going forward. The reason they were slapped with this embargo was because of late payments Hull made to Aston Villa over the loan deal for Louis Barry last season. Hull owed Aston Villa about £1 million for that loan deal, and they were late in paying that. Now, it is worth stressing that Hull have since made that payment to Aston Villa, but the overall situation there is pretty sticky. Obviously, Hull have had some big outgoings in recent seasons. Obviously, the 23-24 season, they really went for it in terms of promotion, got in some really high caliber players, big loanees coming in January as well that season. So despite some of the player sales they've made in recent years, they will have made some big losses. We'll wait and see if Hull are successful or not in their appeal, but if not, yeah, next season could be a tricky one for them. But in terms of some done deals, we've seen Charlton Athletic signing Amari Bell on a free transfer. Obviously, he's coming in from Luton, where his contract had expired this summer. A similar one to what we said about Thomas Kaminski, really. Last season, definitely had an off-season. With Bell especially, my overriding memory of him for Luton last season was that last game of the season where he had an absolute stinker against West Brom, but in years gone by has been a good performer at this level. So the success of that transfer really depends on whether or not Charlton can get him back to those previous levels. Some big news from Swansea City is that they've completed a deal for Ethan Galbraith coming in from Leyton Orient. I think this one is a real statement signing, and yeah, we've been speaking quite positively about Swansea over these last few weeks because I'm really liking the look of their transfer business this summer. They're spending quite a bit of money. The way they ended last season, the additions they've made so far, it feels like a good time to be a Swansea fan right now. Getting this deal over the line, especially beating the likes of Charlton and Huddersfield to his signature. Both of those clubs have had bids rejected for Galbraith earlier in the window. In the end, Swansea have managed to wrap this one up for an initial fee believed to be in the region of 1.5-1.6 million. Hull City have sent Matty Jacob out on loan for the season. He's joined Reading for a season-long loan in League One. We've seen Birmingham completing the signing of Bright Asai Samuel. He comes in on a free transfer after his contract at Fenerbahce had expired. I think this one is an absolutely excellent capture for Birmingham, especially on a free. I'd be interested to see where Blues plan on playing him next season. When you think about Asai Samuel and his time in the Championship previously, at QPR especially, in those days he was a sort of out-and-out winger, wasn't he? Capable of playing on the left or right-hand side, really pacey, really tricky. But while playing in Turkey, he's predominantly been used as an attacking fullback, playing as a right-back, so fairly versatile in the positions that he can take up. He's at a good age as well. Honestly, I think that one's just a really good deal for Birmingham. And we've also seen Birmingham signing Damari Gray on a 3-year deal. This one had been in the pipeline for quite some time, but has now been confirmed. And once again, I'm really excited about this deal as well. I know that the last couple of years for Gray, playing out in Saudi Arabia especially, haven't been brilliant. But now back in a familiar surrounding at a club like Birmingham, who are on the up, I think are going to score a lot of goals next season as well. He's going to be a focal point of that team. It just feels like after, maybe a couple of tough years in Saudi where he's been sort of away from it all, things could click for him again at Birmingham next season. I've seen a few people having a few doubts over that move, but for me personally, I'm quite positive about his chances and him doing really well next season there. We've seen Ipswich making their first signing of the summer, and it's for experienced goalkeeper David Button. You'd imagine he'd be coming in as a backup option there. We've seen Chelsea completing the signing of former Preston youngster Kean Best. I'm really interested to see what their long-term plan for Best is. You'd imagine a bit of time developing with the academy and then sent out on a few loan deals. He's still only 19 years old, does have, I still think, a good amount of potential as well. We saw that in his formative years when he was breaking through at North End. Just a shame how things ended for him here, really. But when Best was released, you know, a month or so ago, I don't think many North End fans would have said he'd be signing for Chelsea. Sheffield United have completed a loan signing of Nottingham Forest defender Tyler Binden. He's someone who Ruben Sellers is already familiar with from his spell last season with Reading. He spent last season out on loan in League One. Did really well during that loan spell with the Royals. This here will be the next stage in his development. We've also had confirmation of Kamaldeen Sulemana leaving Southampton and joining Atalanta on a permanent basis in a deal worth around about £18 million. We knew this one was in the pipeline for quite some time. It's since been confirmed. We've had some big news for Oxford United as well, and that's that Tyler Goodrum has signed a new long-term deal with the club. Massive statement of intent, this one from Oxford, because earlier in the window there had been a bit of interest in the playmaker. Southampton, Coventry among the clubs who have been sniffing around. The fact that they've got him tied down to a new long-term deal, not only does that protect his value, but like I say, I think that is a statement of intent that Oxford, you know, plan on keeping their top players. Speaking of new contracts being handed out as well, we've also seen Ipswich striker George Hurst signing a new 4-year contract with the Tractor Boys. But those are some of the done deals which have gone through in the Championship recently. Now without any further ado, let's jump into the rumours. Birmingham are in advanced talks to sign Kaigo Furuhashi, and once again, another real statement of intent sort of signing from Birmingham here. They've been in talks with the Japanese international for quite some time, but this deal appears to be edging closer. It's been reported that the package could be worth around about £10 million as well. Birmingham have been quite savvy in the market so far, you know, picking up a loan here and there, picking up a player on a free transfer, but they're expected to spend quite big on this one. He is 30 years old, and there's no getting away from the fact that, you know, his move to Rennes in France just hasn't worked out whatsoever. He moved there only back in January for a fee of around 10 million and has barely played in the second half of the season, so they're quite happy to just move him on. But going back to his Celtic days in particular, prolific goal scorer, and for the Championship, I think it would be, once again, a really exciting addition. The fact that Birmingham are, for the most part, landing a lot of their primary targets as well, I think is a statement of intent. The fact that they're getting a lot of business done early as well, I think could only be a good thing going into next season. He'd be someone at Championship level who, yeah, I'd be really excited to watch. And Birmingham are also set to complete a deal for Kanya Fujimoto. The Japanese attacking midfielder would be coming over from Portugal. He's on a free transfer. His contract is up this summer. Last season got 10 goal contributions in the Portuguese top flight. He'd add something maybe a little bit different to that Blues forward line going forward. Can play in a few different positions as well. Can play as a number 10 or off one of the flanks if needed. 26 years old as well, so at a good age. And once again, another player Blues are picking up on a free transfer. Birmingham aren't the only club really going for it in the Championship this season though, and splashing a bit of cash, because Derby have reached an agreement in principle with Charlotte FC over the transfer of Patrick Agyman, with the initial deal being worth around about 5 million. That could rise to 7 to 8 million with add-ons included, so a big deal for Derby here. Agyman's got a good scoring record in MLS. He's also a fully fledged United States international, where he scored 5 goals in 11 international appearances. At a good age as well, at 24 years old. Where things currently stand on this deal, Derby have reached an agreement with Charlotte FC. Personal terms with the player have also been agreed as well. We're only waiting on a medical, which is set to take place after the Gold Cup final. And he's not the only United States international striker who's going to be playing in the Championship next season either, as Southampton have had a breakthrough in negotiations for Cologne forward Damon Downs. A full agreement with the German club has been made, with the initial fee believed to be worth just shy of £7 million. That could rise to above 8.6 million with add-ons included. He's coming off the back of a decent season in the German second division, where he scored 10 goals in 29 appearances, only 20 years old as well, so plenty of potential and room for growth. And have Norwich City found their Josh Sargent replacement in Matthias Kvistgaarden. The Danish international is currently playing for Brøndby in the Danish Superliga. He scored 23 goals across all competitions last season, and it's currently being reported that he is edging ever closer to a deal to Carrow Road. It's also been reported that he's turned down a move to Lens in favour of joining Norwich. All things considered, I think this is another really exciting addition for the Championship next season, and Norwich in particular. Now, as of recording, it's not crystal clear what sort of transfer fee Norwich would be paying. It has previously been reported, though, that Brøndby value him at upwards of 11 million, so serious money we're talking about here. That seems like it'd be quite the capture for Norwich though. West Brom have got a deal in place for Orne Hugbo, who'd be coming over from the Norwegian top flight. Currently playing for SK Brann. According to Fabrizio Romano, West Brom have agreed a deal worth 5.5 million euros. So in pounds, that's worth about 4.3 million. This would be a really exciting addition for the Baggies as well. He's got a really good strike rate in Norway. He scored 50 goals and 143 appearances for SK Brann. Only 23 years old as well, so another player at a good age. Swedish fullback Joe Mendes is a wanted man in the Championship, with the likes of Southampton, Birmingham and Sheffield United all reportedly interested in the Braga star. Now, he is still under contract until 2028, but given he spent last season out on loan, you'd imagine the Portuguese side would be open to a sale this summer. Interesting that Birmingham are targeting another right back as well. You'd maybe think that that means they're going to be utilising Asai Samuel further up the pitch next season, especially given they've already got Ethan Laird in that position as well. But in terms of Mendes, he's only 22 years old. You can definitely see why there'd be some Championship interest there. It looks like Brighton defender Odilon Grafaya is on his way to join Preston North End on a permanent basis. I'm really quite happy with this one if North End do indeed manage to get a deal over the line. Charlton had also been interested in the defender, who spent last season out on loan with Blackpool in League One, did really well during that loan spell. Quite a versatile defender, capable of playing as a centre-half or as a full-back. Adds a bit of much-needed pace to that North End back line, and he'd be coming in at a really decent age as well, just 22 years old. I think that is a conscious effort that North End need to make this summer to try and lower the average age of this squad. Yeah, I'd be really happy with that one if we pull it off. In terms of defenders, it looks like it could be one going in and one going out at North End, because Jack Watmore has been in talks with Huddersfield over a permanent move there. I think this one would make sense from a North End perspective to try and get him off the books. We are a bit overloaded in that centre-half department. For Watmore, going forward long term, I just don't think he's a player who's in Paul Heckingbottom's plans. So if we can get any sort of transfer fee, a reasonable one for him, I think we'd be pretty happy to accept that. At this point, it feels like John Eustace is trying to recreate that entire Blackburn Rovers side from last season at Pride Park, because Derby are now being linked with a move for Callum Britton. He's going into the final year of his contract at Ewood Park. Blackburn are trying to tie him down to a new contract, but if they can't get him to agree to that, maybe it makes sense to cash in while they still can. Eustace really raiding his former side here though, isn't he? It also looks like it could be a busy few days coming up at Watford. They've supposedly agreed a deal with Metz for winger Pape Diallo, with that deal being worth a reported £4.3 million. The 21-year-old supposedly had his medical at Watford yesterday, so expect this one to be announced fairly swiftly. Playing in the French second division last season, scored 7 goals and got 4 assists. Only 21 years old as well, so a player with an abundance of potential. Watford have also been linked with the move for Alexandre Mendy, who's also currently playing in the French second division. However, it has since been reported that Watford's interest in the 31-year-old has cooled and that they are currently exploring alternative options in that position. So could still go in for him, but for the time being looks like they're exploring a few other attacking options. Luton Town playmaker Thelo Asgard had been linked with a return to the Championship, with Stoke City one of the Championship clubs interested. However, it appears like he's on his way to sign for Rangers in a deal worth around about £5 million. Given the amount of interest, it did seem fairly unlikely that he'd be sticking around for Luton's campaign in League One next season, but a move back to the Championship doesn't seem to be on the cards. He's heading to Rangers instead. But there you have it, guys. That will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, anything that we missed off today, make sure to get it in the comments down below and we'll mention it next time. There's plenty going on in the Championship right now. But apart from that, thank you very much for tuning in and I'll see you all in the next one.